The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive station where representatives from across the galaxy gathered to discuss matters of importance. Today, the room buzzed with unusual energy. Scientists had detected something remarkable, and now everyone wanted to understand what it meant. Commander Ji-Min Park stood near the back of the chamber, watching as the Galactic Council members took their seats. She represented Earth at these meetings, though humanity was still considered young by galactic standards. Most species here had been traveling the stars for millions of years. Humans had only joined them 50 years ago. The head scientist, a tall being with silver skin and 4 arms, activated the central display. A sound filled the chamber. It was old, crackling with interference, but the meaning was clear. A voice spoke in a language the translation system struggled to decode, but the emotion came through perfectly. Fear. Desperation. Hope. This signal has been traveling through space for 80,000 years, the scientist explained. It originated from a star system in the outer rim. The civilization that sent it is called the Vorathi, though we have no records of them. They are clearly extinct now. Ji-Min leaned forward, listening carefully. The voice in the recording continued to speak. The translation systems finally caught up, displaying words on the screen. Is anyone there? We are dying. Our ship is failing. Please, if anyone can hear this, please help us. We have children. We have families. Please do not let us vanish into the dark. The message repeated several times, then ended. The chamber fell silent for a moment. One of the council members, a being that looked like a floating crystal, spoke first. Fascinating, from a historical perspective. We should send archaeologists to investigate the origin point. This could teach us much about extinct civilizations. Another council member nodded. Indeed. Though sad, of course. They clearly died thousands of years ago. Perhaps we can learn what went wrong. Ji-Min felt something twist in her chest. She raised her hand to speak. The council head noticed and gestured for her to continue. With respect, Ji-Min said carefully. Earth would like to propose an actual rescue mission, not just an archaeological study. Ji-Min. Several council members turned to look at her. Some seemed confused. One let out what might have been a laugh. Commander Park, the crystal being said gently. Perhaps you misunderstand. This signal is 80,000 years old. The civilization that sent it died before your species even learned to farm. There is nothing to rescue. We should still go, Ji-Min insisted. Someone called for help. We should answer. The council member with 6 eyes spoke up. But why? It would cost resources, time, and effort to travel there. And for what? To find ancient ruins and dead ships? We can send robots for that. Ji-Min felt her jaw tighten. She had expected this reaction, but it still frustrated her. Because they asked for help, because they were afraid and alone, and they hoped someone would care. Even if they are gone, we should go. We should see. We owe them that much. Owe them? Another council member asked. Commander, your sentiment is understandable, but not practical. They have been dead for longer than most species can imagine. Going there changes nothing. It changes that someone finally answered, Ji-Min said quietly. The council head studied her for a long moment. Humanity is still learning our ways. You see emotions where we see facts. The Vorathi are gone. This is simply how time works. Ji-Min took a breath. On Earth, we have a saying. When someone calls for help, you answer. Even if you are late. Even if you cannot save them. You answer because it is the right thing to do. You answer because someday, you might be the one calling. The chamber grew quiet again. Some council members exchanged glances. Others seemed to be thinking. Earth requests permission to send a ship to investigate, Ji-Min continued. We will not ask for galactic resources. We will go ourselves. We just want to know what happened. We want to honor their call. The council had considered this. You truly wish to waste your resources on this? It is not a waste, Jimin replied. They reached out across the stars, hoping someone good existed in the universe. Someone who would care. We want to show them that someone does, even if we are 80,000 years too late. After a long pause, the council head nodded. Very well. Earth may send its expedition. We will note your decision in the records, though I suspect you will find only disappointment. Jimin bowed slightly. Thank you. As the council moved on to other matters, Jimin stepped out of the chamber. She immediately contacted Earth. The response came quickly. They would send a ship. They would answer the call. 3 weeks later, Jimin stood on the bridge of the Persistence, a human exploration vessel designed for long-distance travel. The crew around her prepared for departure. Dr. Seo Yun Chang checked the scientific equipment. Lieutenant Han Sol Kim reviewed their route to the distant star system. Course plotted, Commander, Han Sol reported. It will take us 4 months to reach the coordinates. Good, Jimin said. Let us go answer a call that should have been answered long ago. The Persistence pulled away from the station and turned toward the darkness. Behind them, the Galactic Council continued its business, already forgetting about the human ship chasing ghosts. But Jimin remembered the voice in the signal. The fear and hope mixed together, the plea that had traveled across space for 80,000 years, waiting for someone to care enough to respond. We are coming, she whispered to the stars. We heard you. We are coming. The ship jumped into faster-than-light travel, racing toward a system where a civilization had died hoping someone would answer their call. Humanity was finally bringing that answer, even if they were impossibly late. Because some things mattered more than time or practicality. Some things mattered because they defined who you chose to be. 4 months in space changed people. The crew of the Persistence had grown used to the silence, the routine, and the vast emptiness outside their windows. But as they approached the target system, something shifted. Everyone felt it. They were close now. Dropping out of faster than light in 30 seconds, Han Sol announced from the navigation station. His hands moved across the controls with practiced ease. Jimin stood at the center of the bridge, watching the main screen. Around her, the crew prepared for normal space. 4 months of travel were about to end. Whatever they found here would be the answer to a question that had haunted her since hearing that signal. The ship shuddered slightly as it dropped back into normal space. Stars appeared on the screen, sharp and clear. And there, in the distance, a red sun burned dimly. Scanning the system now, Seo Yun said from her station. Her eyes stayed focused on the data streaming across her screen. 3 planets, 2 gas giants in the outer system, 1 rocky planet closer in. Wait, I am getting something else. What is it? Jimin asked. A ship, Seo Yun replied, her voice barely above a whisper. A massive ship. Dead in space between the 2nd and 3rd planets. The main screen shifted to show the target. Jimin felt her breath catch. The vessel was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Persistence. Its hull was dark, pitted with micrometeor impacts from thousands of years drifting, but it was still intact. A generation ship, Han Sol said quietly. They were trying to escape something. Take us closer, Jimin ordered. Carefully. The Persistence moved forward, closing the distance slowly. As they approached, more details became visible. The ship had a cylindrical design, meant to spin for artificial gravity. Parts of it were damaged, but most of the structure remained solid. I am picking up no power signatures, So Yun reported. The ship is completely dead. No heat, no energy, nothing. Can we dock with it? Jimin asked. There appears to be a docking port on the forward section, Han Sol said. It looks compatible with our systems. Old design, but functional. Do it, Jimin decided. The next hour involved careful maneuvering and several tense moments. But eventually, the Persistence connected to the ancient vessel. The docking clamps locked with a solid thunk that echoed through both ships. Ji-min gathered an exploration team. Besides herself, Seo-yun and Han-sol volunteered, along with 3 security officers. They suited up in protective gear. Not knowing what atmosphere, if any, remained inside the dead ship, the airlock opened with a hiss. Ji-min stepped through first, her helmet light cutting through absolute darkness. The corridor beyond was wide and tall, designed for beings larger than humans. Frost covered every surface. Temperature is near absolute zero, Seo-yun noted, checking her instruments. No atmosphere. This ship has been dead for a very long time. They moved forward slowly, their lights revealing glimpses of a lost civilization. Writing covered the walls in a flowing script that looked almost artistic. Images showed beings with 4 arms and heads that had 3 eyes arranged in a triangle. The Vorathi. This way, Seo-yun said, following a map she had pulled from the ship's external computer core. There should be a central control room ahead. The control room, when they reached it, told a sad story. Stations were abandoned mid-task. Data screens, long, dark, sat waiting for operators who would never return. In one corner, Ji-min found something that made her stop. A small toy, carved from some kind of wood. It looked like an animal, though not one she recognized. They had families here, she said softly. Children. Commander, Seo-yun called out. Ji-min crossed to where Seo-yun stood before a main console. The scientist had managed to connect a portable power source and was pulling data from the ancient computer. Ship logs, Seo-yun explained. Automated recordings. Let me see if I can translate them. No. The computer worked for several minutes, processing the alien language. Then words began appearing on the screen, translated into human language. The logs told a story of desperation. The Vorathi homeworld had been dying, its sun expanding early. They had built this ship, packed it with as many people as they could save, and fled into space. They hoped to find a new world, a new home. But something had gone wrong. The ship's main power core had failed 20 years into their journey. Life support began failing. They sent their distress signal, broadcasting it in all directions, hoping someone would hear, hoping someone would care. Keep reading, Ji-min said, her voice tight. The logs continued. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. The Vorathi tried everything to repair their ship, but they lacked the resources. One by one, systems failed. The automated logs recorded it all with cold precision. Then Seo-yun found something else. Commander, there is a section here about emergency protocols. When they knew they could not save everyone, they made a choice. What choice? Han-sol asked. Seo-yun read further, her eyes widening. They put people into stasis. Deep cryogenic sleep. They hoped it would preserve them until rescue came. They prioritized children and young adults. The older generation stayed awake to maintain the systems as long as possible. The logs showed that final, desperate act. Families saying goodbye. Parents putting children to sleep with promises that someone would come. That they would wake up safe. That everything would be fine. Where are the stasis pods? Ji-min asked urgently. Seo-yun checked the ship's layout. Lower decks. Section 7. Commander, those systems would have failed long ago without power. We still need to check, Ji-min insisted. They made their way deeper into the ship, following the map. The stasis chamber was massive, row after row of cylindrical pods stretching into the darkness. Ji-min counted hundreds of them. Power check, she ordered. Seo-yun moved to a control panel and connected her equipment. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, her voice came through the radio, shaking slightly. Commander, I am reading power signatures, very faint, but they are there. Some of these pods are still functioning. Ji-min felt the world shift beneath her feet. What? Emergency backup systems, Seo-yun said, reading faster now. The Vorathi designed the pods to draw power from radioactive decay. Very slow, very stable. They last thousands of years. Commander, I am reading life signs. Faint, but present. There are people alive in these pods. Han Sol checked his scanner. Confirmed. I count 847 active pods. The rest failed over time, but these ones held. Jimin walked forward slowly, approaching the nearest pod. She wiped frost from a small window and looked inside. A face looked back at her, frozen in sleep. A young face with 3 eyes and 4 arms, preserved perfectly. They waited, she whispered. For 80,000 years. They waited for someone to answer their call. Wei. The redded. End. What do we do? Han Sol asked. Jimin straightened up. We wake them up. We finally give them the answer they have been waiting for. We tell them that someone heard them. That someone came. Around her, the crew stood in the darkness among hundreds of sleeping refugees from a civilization long extinct. They had come looking for the past and found the present instead. A call for help, 80,000 years old, had finally been answered, and now the real work would begin. Jimin stood in the emergency meeting room aboard the Persistence. On the screen before her, faces from Earth looked back with expressions of shock and disbelief. She had just finished explaining what they had found. Let me make sure I understand correctly, the Earth Council representative said slowly. You found survivors. Actual living beings, in stasis, after 80,000 years. Yes, Jimin confirmed. 847 individuals, mostly young people and children. The older generation sacrificed themselves to give the young a chance. This is remarkable, another council member said. But also very complicated. Do we even know how to wake them safely? Seo Yun stepped forward. I have been studying their medical database. The Vorathi were incredibly advanced in biological sciences. They left detailed instructions for revival, designed for whoever found them. But can we follow those instructions? Someone asked. It is different, Seo Yun admitted, but not impossibly so. They breathe oxygen. Their blood chemistry is similar to ours in basic function, and their cellular structure follows recognizable patterns. I believe we can do this. But we need to be very careful. Jimin looked at the council members. We are asking for permission to begin revival procedures. We also need medical support sent from Earth. This is beyond what our small crew can handle alone. What does the Galactic Council say? Someone asked. We contacted them yesterday, Jimin replied, her voice tight. They advised us to leave the Vorathi in stasis and return home. They said it was too dangerous, too expensive, and too complicated to attempt revival. Silence filled the communication channel for a moment. They want us to leave them? One council member said, shocked. After 80,000 years, they finally get found, and the galaxy says to leave them sleeping? The council's position is that they are effectively already dead, Jimin explained. They argue that waking them would be cruel, bringing them into a universe where their civilization is extinct and they have no place. That is not our decision to make, the Earth Council head said firmly. If they can be saved, we save them. Send us everything you have. We will dispatch medical teams immediately. In the meantime, do what you can. Jimin felt relief flood through her. Thank you. We will begin preliminary work immediately. The communication ended. Jimin turned to her crew. You heard them. Let us get to work. Over the next 3 days, the crew of the Persistence worked to restore power to sections of the Vorathi ship. They connected their own generators to the medical bay, bringing light and warmth to chambers that had been dark for millennia. Seo Yun spent every waking hour studying the Vorathi medical records. She learned their physiology, their chemistry, their biological rhythms. The instructions they had left were detailed and clear, written by people who desperately wanted to make revival possible for whoever found them. They thought of everything, Seo Yun told Jimin. during one late-night work session. Different scenarios, different types of rescuers, different technology levels. They really believed someone good would come. Someone did, Jimin said quietly. We were just very, very late. On the fourth day, Seo-yoon announced she was ready to attempt the first revival. They chose carefully, selecting a pod that contained someone identified in the records as a medical professional. If they succeeded, that person could help with the others. The crew gathered in the medical bay. The chosen pod rested on a specialized table, connected to monitors that tracked life signs. Seo-yoon double-checked every connection, every setting, every detail. Beginning revival sequence, she announced. The pod began to hum softly. Lights activated along its length. Inside, the frozen form started to change as carefully controlled warmth spread through the system. Minutes passed. Then, an hour. The crew watched in tense silence. Heart rate increasing, Seo-yoon reported. Brain activity rising. Cellular metabolism responding. This is working. Another 30 minutes passed. Then the pod's lid unsealed with a soft hiss. Vapor poured out. Inside, 3 eyes slowly opened. The Vorathi looked around with confusion. Their 4 arms moved weakly. Their mouth opened, and sounds came out. Strange sounds, in a language dead for 80,000 years. The translator is working, Seo-yoon said. A moment later, words appeared on a screen. Where am I? What happened? Did someone come? Jimin stepped forward slowly, making herself visible. Yes, she said, speaking clearly so the translator could process her words. Someone came. You are safe now. The Vorathi's 3 eyes focused on her. Confusion turned to shock, then to something that might have been joy or relief or disbelief all mixed together. You answered. Someone, actually, answered. We did, Jimin confirmed. We heard your call. We came. Tears formed in the Vorathi's eyes. All 3 of them. How long? Jimin hesitated, then decided honesty was necessary. 80,000 years. I am sorry we took so long. The Vorathi lay still for a moment, processing this. 80,000 years. They repeated slowly. Then, everything is gone. Our world. Our people. Everything. Not everything, Jimin said gently. There are 846 others in stasis with you. Children. Young people. The hope your generation protected. The Vorathi's breathing quickened. They survived? The children survived? Yes. Seo-yoon confirmed. And we are going to wake them all up. But we need your help. You are a doctor. According to the records. Keyleth, the Vorathi said. My name is Keyleth. I was a medical researcher. He tried to sit up, struggled, then managed it with help. The children. We have to save the children. Over the next week, Keyleth worked with Seo-yoon and the human medical team that arrived from Earth. Together, they refined the revival process. Keyleth's knowledge of Vorathi biology, combined with human medical technology, created something neither species could have achieved alone. They woke people slowly. First, more medical staff, then engineers, then teachers. Each revival was the same. Confusion, shock at how much time had passed, grief for everything lost, but also relief, joy, gratitude that someone had finally come. A young Vorathi mother woke to find her daughter still asleep in the next pod. She wept as they revived the child. A teacher woke and immediately asked about his students. 2 siblings woke and held each other, grateful they had not been separated by time. With each revival, the same question came. Who are you? Why did you come? And Jimin gave the same answer each time. We are humans from Earth. We came because you called for help. Because that is what you do when someone needs you. The Vorathi struggled to understand this. But we have been gone for so long. Your people did not even exist when we fell asleep. Why would you care? Because you were afraid and alone. Jimin explained simply. Because you hoped someone good existed in the universe. We wanted to prove you were right to hope. Keyleth translated her words to the growing group of awakened Vorathi. They listened in silence. Then, one by one, they approached Jimin and her crew. Some touched their hands in what seemed to be a gesture of gratitude. Others simply bowed. But Jimin understood. Across 80,000 years, across the death of a civilization, across the vast emptiness of space, a call for help had finally been answered, and both species were changed by it. 3 months after the first revival, all 847 Vorathi had been awakened. The generation ship, once a tomb, now bustled with activity, as 2 species worked together to make it livable again. But everyone knew this was temporary. The real question remained unanswered. What happened next? Jimin called a meeting in what had once been the Vorathi Council chamber. Representatives from both species gathered. Keyleth attended, now serving as the main liaison between the Vorathi and humans. The awakened refugees had chosen him because he understood both hope and loss. We need to discuss the future, Jimin began. Earth has offered sanctuary to all of you. You would be welcomed as citizens, given support to rebuild your lives. Keyleth translated for those Vorathi who had not yet learned human languages. Murmurs spread through the group. Some seemed hopeful. Others looked uncertain. Your people would truly do this? An elderly Vorathi asked. Accept us? We bring nothing. We have no money, no resources, no way to repay such kindness. You bring yourselves, Jimin said simply. That is enough. But why? Another Vorathi pressed. We are not your responsibility. You found us. Yes. But you could leave us at any world. Why take on such a burden? Han Sol spoke up from where he stood near the back. Because we answered your call. That means something to humans. When you answer a call for help, you do not stop halfway. You see it through. A young Vorathi, barely an adult, raised one of her 4 hands. What about the Galactic Council? What do they say? Jimin's expression hardened slightly. The Council has advised us to reconsider. They argue that integration would be too difficult, too expensive. Some suggest leaving you here with supplies to rebuild on your own. Anger flashed through the Vorathi group. Keleth's 3 eyes narrowed. Some do, Jimin admitted. But not Earth. Not humanity. We stand by our offer. Why is your species different? Keyleth asked quietly. What makes humans care when others do not? Jimin thought carefully before answering. Maybe it is because we are young. Maybe it is because we remember being alone and afraid in the universe before we met other species. Or maybe it is just who we choose to be. We believe that how you treat someone in need says everything about who you are. A message alert interrupted the meeting. Seo-yun checked it, then looked up with concern. Commander, we have incoming ships, multiple vessels, Galactic Council. Everyone moved to the observation deck. Through the windows, they could see 3 large ships approaching. They took up positions around the generation ship, surrounding it. This is Council Representative Thane. A voice came through the communication system. We are here to take custody of the Vorathi survivors. Earth has exceeded its authority in this matter. Jimin's jaw tightened. She opened a communication channel. Representative Thane, the Vorathi are not prisoners or property to take custody of. They are free beings who can choose their own future. They are refugees from a dead civilization, Thane replied. They require proper placement and integration by experienced species. Humans lack the resources and knowledge for such a task. We seem to be managing fine, Jimin shot back. Your emotional attachment to this situation clouds your judgment, Thane said. We are here to protect both the Vorathi and humanity from a mistake born of sentiment. Keyleth stepped forward, gesturing to Jimin that he wanted to speak. She nodded and activated the video transmission. I am Keyleth of the Vorathi, he said clearly. I speak for my people. We choose to go with Earth. They answered our call when you did not. They saved us when you said to leave us. We trust them because they have earned that trust. You do not understand the situation, Thane argued. You have been asleep for 80,000 years. You know nothing of the current galaxy. I know enough, Keyleth replied firmly. I know who came when we called. I know who worked to save us. I know who offered us a home without asking for anything in return. That tells me everything I need to know. Other Vorathi gathered behind Keyleth, showing their support. Their solidarity was clear. Thane was silent for a moment. Then his tone changed, becoming harder. Very well. If Earth wishes to take on this burden, you are welcome to try. But do not expect galactic resources or support. You do this alone. We have been doing it alone from the start, Jimin pointed out. We are used to it. The Council ships held position for several more hours, as if hoping someone would change their minds. But neither the humans nor the Vorathi wavered. Finally, the Council vessels departed, leaving behind only warnings about the difficulties ahead. That night, Jimin found Keyleth standing in one of the observation areas, looking out at the stars. Can I join you? She asked. Of course. Keyleth replied. He gestured with one of his hands to the stars. Out there somewhere is where my homeworld used to be. I will never see it again. Everything I knew is gone. I am sorry, Jimin said quietly. Do not be, Keyleth said. We knew the risks when we went into stasis. We chose to hope that something good existed in the universe, that someone would care. He turned to look at her with his 3 eyes. You proved we were right. That means more than you know. What will you do on Earth? Jimin asked. You and your people? Live. Keyleth said simply. Build new lives. Share what we know. My people were advanced in many ways. Perhaps our knowledge can help humanity. As much as your kindness helped us. That would be wonderful, Jimin said. But it is not required. We owe you everything, Keyleth corrected gently. You live well, Jimin suggested. You find happiness. You remember that someone cared. That is enough. They stood together in comfortable silence, 2 beings from different species and different eras, connected by a simple act of answering a call. Behind them, Vorathi children played with human crew members, learning new games and teaching old ones. Engineers from both species collaborated on repairs. Teachers shared knowledge and stories. When do we leave for Earth? Keyleth asked. Next week, Jimin replied. We will travel together. All of us. The Persistence and your generation ship. Side by side. I like that, Keyleth said. Not alone anymore. Never alone again, Jimin promised. And as they stood there watching the stars, both knew that something important had changed. Not just for the Vorathi, who had been saved from eternal sleep, not just for humanity, who had proven their values meant more than words, but for the galaxy itself. Because somewhere, someone had finally learned that some calls must always be answered. Some people must always be saved. And some values mattered more than practicality or convenience. The journey to Earth would take months. Integration would take years. Challenges would come. But for now, in this moment, 2 species stood together in the darkness, both changed forever by a signal that traveled 80,000 years, and the answer that finally came. The answer that said, yes, someone is there. Yes, someone cares. Yes, you are not alone. And that made all the difference. 1 year had passed since the Vorathi arrived on Earth. Jimin stood at the window of the Integration Center in Seoul, watching children play in the courtyard below. Human children and Vorathi children ran together, their laughter mixing in the afternoon air. It was a sound that still amazed her every time she heard it. "Commander Park?" a voice said behind her. Jimin turned to see a young assistant approaching. "Just Jimin now," she corrected with a smile. "I retired from active command 6 months ago. Remember? Sorry, old habit." The assistant said, "The Galactic Council is calling. They want to speak with you and Keyleth. They say it is important." Jimin found Keyleth in the research laboratory where he now worked. The Vorathi scientist had adapted well to Earth. Though he still wore the traditional wrappings of his people, he looked up as she entered, his 3 eyes bright with curiosity. "The council wants to talk," Jimin told him. Keyleth set down the equipment he had been calibrating. "About what, I wonder? They have ignored us for a year. Why reach out now?" They made their way to the communication center. On the large screen, the council chamber appeared. The same beings who had dismissed the rescue mission now looked at them with very different expressions. "Commander Park, Researcher Keyleth," the council head began formally. "We wish to invite you both to address the council. Your presence is requested for a matter of galactic importance." 1. Jimin exchanged glances with Keyleth. "What matter would that be? We would prefer to discuss it in person," the council head said. "We will send a ship for you. Will you come?" After a moment, Jimin nodded. "We will come." 2 weeks later, Jimin and Keyleth stood before the Galactic Council once again. But this time, the chamber was packed. Representatives from dozens of species filled the seats. News crews recorded everything. This was clearly more than a simple meeting. The council head stood. "We have asked you here to discuss the Vorathi integration. It has been 1 year. We wish to know the results." Keyleth stepped forward. "The results are simple. We live, we work, we contribute to human society. We are no longer refugees waiting to die. We are citizens building lives. And the cost to humanity?" Another council member asked. "Surely such integration has been difficult. Changes, processed. Changes, endes. Changes, 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 endes. Changes, changes. It has been expensive," Jimin admitted honestly. "We spent billions on housing, education, medical care, and support services. We redirected resources from other projects. Yes, it has been difficult." "Then you admit it was a mistake?" the crystal being asked. "No," Jimin said firmly. "It was the best decision we ever made." Murmurs spread through the chamber. The council head raised a hand for silence. "Please explain." Jimin took a breath. "The Vorathi brought knowledge we did not have. Their medical technology has already saved thousands of human lives. Their understanding of sustainable energy has helped us solve problems we struggled with for decades. Their agricultural techniques have increased food production by 20%. But more than that, they reminded us why we explore the stars in the first place." "And why is that?" someone asked. "To find others like us," Jimin said simply. "To know we are not alone. To build something together that neither species could build apart." Keyleth nodded. "Humans saved us from death. But we have given them something too. Knowledge. Yes. But also perspective. Sometimes an old civilization can teach a young one valuable lessons." The council head studied them both. "There is another reason we called you here. In the past year, we have received 17 other ancient distress signals. All of them decades or centuries old. Previously, we would have ignored them. But your actions have raised questions we can no longer avoid." "What questions?" Jimin asked. "Whether we have become too focused on practicality," the council head said slowly. "Whether we have forgotten what it means to help someone, simply because they need help. 3 of the signals we received are recent enough that survivors might still be possible. We are debating whether to respond." Jimin felt her heart rate increase. "You should respond. You have to respond. Why? The crystal being asked. You have shown us that integration is possible, yes, but also expensive and complicated. Why should we take on such burdens? Keyleth moved to the center of the chamber. May I tell you a story? He asked. When no one objected, he continued. 80,000 years ago, my people were dying. We sent a call into the darkness, hoping someone good would hear it. Most of us accepted we would die. But we put our children in stasis because we had hope. Not reasonable hope. Not practical hope. Just hope that somewhere in the vast universe, someone believed that saving lives mattered more than convenience. He paused, looking around the chamber. For 80,000 years, that hope seemed foolish, naive, a waste. But then humans came. They were not the strongest species, not the smartest, not the richest. But they came because they cared. And because they cared, 847 beings who should be dead are alive. Entire bloodlines that should have ended continue. A civilization that should be forgotten lives on. That is one success story, someone argued. It does not guarantee others will work as well. No, it does not, Keyleth agreed. But it guarantees something more important. It guarantees that when someone calls for help, someone will answer. It guarantees that no one will die alone in the dark, wondering if anyone in the universe cares. Can you really put a price on that? I wunges talpint. The chamber fell silent. Jimin watched, as council members looked at each other. Clearly, uncomfortable. Finally, a new voice spoke. A small, elderly being Jimin had never seen before. I am Representative Mirth of the Kellyan people. My species is old. Very old. We have been part of this council for 6 million years. And in all that time, I cannot remember the last time we did something simply because it was right. Not because it was practical. Perhaps we have forgotten what it means to be good. Being good is a luxury the young can afford. Another council member said. Those of us who have survived millions of years know that practicality matters. Does it? Mirth challenged. Humans are young, yes, but they are here. They are thriving. They grow stronger every year. Perhaps there is strength in goodness we have forgotten about. The debate continued for hours. Jimin and Keyleth watched as the council argued about values, resources, responsibility, and the meaning of civilization itself. Finally, the council head called for order. We will vote, the council head announced. The question is this. Should the Galactic Council create a new protocol, requiring response to all distress signals, regardless of age or apparent futility? All in favor? Jimin held her breath. Slowly, hands and appendages rose throughout the chamber. Not all of them. Not even most of them. But enough. The measure passes, the council head said. From this day forward, all distress signals will be answered. We commit to this as a galaxy. No one will call for help without receiving an answer. Keyleth's 3 eyes filled with tears. He turned to Jimin, and she saw her own emotion reflected in his expression. Something fundamental had just changed. After the vote, dozens of species approached them. Some thanked them. Others asked for advice on integration. A few admitted shame at their previous dismissal of the rescue mission. That evening, as their ship prepared to return to Earth, Jimin and Keyleth stood in the observation deck. We did it, Keyleth said quietly. We changed their minds. You did it, Jimin corrected. Your people, your hope, your refusal to stop believing someone good existed. That is what changed things. And humans answering, Keyleth added. Do not forget that. Hope means nothing if no one answers it. Jimin smiled. Then we did it together. Back on Earth, news of the council decision spread quickly. The Vorathi community celebrated. Humans celebrated with them. And in living rooms and schools and workplaces, parents told their children about the signal that traveled 80,000 years and the answer that changed a galaxy. In the years that followed, 17 other ancient calls were answered. Not all resulted in survivors. Some found only ruins and records. But every single call received a response. Every single one was honored. And humanity became known throughout the galaxy, not for their weapons or their wealth or their technology. They became known as the species who proved that answering mattered, that caring mattered, that some values transcended practicality. The Persistence, the ship that had made that first impossible journey, was placed in a museum. Children of all species visited it, learning about the day someone finally answered a call that everyone else had ignored. And on the hull, a new inscription was added. In both human language and Vorathi script, it read simply, "They called, we answered." That is enough, because in the end, that was what mattered most. Not being the strongest, or the smartest, or the richest. Just being the ones who cared enough to answer when someone needed help. Just being the ones who chose kindness over practicality, hope over efficiency, and connection over isolation. Just being the ones who understood that in the vast darkness of space, every call for help deserved an answer, and every being deserved to know they were not alone.